There, it's Dr. Judith Riles, and you're ready for another episode of Author You, your guide to book publishing. And as always, we love to thank people who make this possible. Certainly, the Book Shepherd, that's me, it help pays the bills. Author You and the membership of AuthorU.org for authors who desire to be seriously successful and move into that. And then there is Rebecca Finkel of FPGD .com, who's just an awesome book designer, cover designer, does interiors that'll knock your socks off, fabulous ebooks. And she has now kind of stretched in to bring the branding thing so important along with your book into websites. And some of the customization has been just amazing. Nick Zillinger is another one of our sponsors of NZ Graphics. And Nick does a variety of things, but he really shines in the book cover and interior design of books, along with some of the swag, the bookmarks and banners and things like that. So, with all of us, we bring to you each episode of Author You, your guide to book publishing. And I always like to start with a quote from my little book, How to Create Snappy, Saucy Success for Authors and Writers, which is 400 of my quotes. And since we're going to be talking about marketing elements today, I just kind of randomly opened to the section on marketing. I'm gonna just kind of put just my eyes just dropped in. There's 8 on across these 2 pages, and I will say, think Disney when it comes to your book marketing. It feeds and conspires with downright obsession. You want your book to be a must-have. So what does that mean? Well, our topic today is going to be around something that I have talked about a lot. I mean, I drive all my clients. This is a must-have. So it's the combo of what will make your website sing, sparkle, be effective, and do the job it's supposed to do. And like an element on it that I think all of you should have. So we're going to do some deep diving into what's called an opt-in and or a lead magnet, which is another word that is used for it. And I'm going to show you some of the examples. I'll go over to my page on the Book Shepherd that we've altered. Some of our opt-ins have been far more successful than others. And I have things that I think, okay, so why was it this way and why wasn't it that way, that kind of thing. So we're going to get into that and make it work for you because this is so freaking important to have. So first of all, let's start with your website. And your website element is something that that's what's a website for. And I've gone through this one before in previous podcasts, but just a reminder, number one is to provide content for new visitors and your regular people who come to it, or you use it to have people come in to sign up for events, things you're doing, finding your books. They could lead to where your books are available. It's for all kinds of goodies that you can have on it. I mean, we have, on my website, I'll go to my website, show it to you, that and that's the Book Shepherd website. But to go on to where they can, link over to podcast, or they can go to YouTube and get podcast, or they can go directly to the show page. So we have all those, but it's to provide content. The second thing is supposed to develop trust that you're not fake, that you're legitimate, that your expertise is solid, it's valid, and you've earned it on that. And you share that. And the third thing, which is what we're going to be talking about, is you're going to create something to attract emails. Because one of the most important things, who knows what happens to Twitter? Twitter could go away, Facebook could go away, Instagram could go away, TikTok could go away. But here's one of the things is you don't have emails off of those on that. And that and LinkedIn, you don't have their emails on it. This is a way for you to offer something in exchange for their email, and then they join your preferred list as you go on and how you build it. And does it go explosive, viral overnight? No. Can you get a lot of contents, in a short period of time? Yeah, you can. Yeah. No, but when you hear about people going viral and all of a sudden I have 100,000 followers on Instagram, you don't know who those people are. And they can disappear, they can sign up, and then who knows where they're going to go. So this is talking about things that you can develop that trust and that relationship by providing information. So my followers know that every Tuesday they will get an informational blog that will tie into either book marketing, author, anything in that area, success. Sometimes I just go over a whole new tool that I found that I want everyone to know about. On Wednesday, I do a newsletter, very extensive. This is what's happening in my world. Events are coming out. I always include a tool, new tool, or an old tool revisited. I know in one last week, at least once a year, I will put up like Talk Walker, which I think you all should know about. Talk Walker is an awesome tool. It's about like having your own clipping service, and that yes, you can get Google alerts. I find Talk Walker more effective. And so if you learn to tag yourself or you put out press releases and it gets picked up in Duluth, for example, and your name is on it, you get your following, your name, you do your quote, your name, quote. So I don't want to hear about every Judas in the world. I don't, but that it will notify me that I showed up somewhere. It's very cool. So that was one of the tools. I just revisit that you should know about. And then maybe a service one of my associate providers do. I mentioned, Nick Zellinger and Rebecca Finkel. Every few months, I feature them in, discover Nick Zellinger, discover Rebecca Finkel, that kind of thing, and what they can do on that. And then I'll do events and that, and I put up when I'm doing, I have a section in the newsletter that has all my podcasts for the month. I have another little teeny section. I do once a month pick my brain on a Saturday morning, and I do it online really early, and I do it in person, and the people come to my home and they bring food to share, and it's quite social. Anyway, we do that. Those are announced. The dates, here's how to get registered type thing. So, and those are freebies for the Author U community. All right. So every Wednesday that goes out. On Thursday is podcast day. And so we do an announcement that goes out on what the podcast is for the week. And then on Saturday, I have another, what I call a chewy blog. It could be 4 lines, it could be 10 lines, but it's not a tool. It's just something to think about, maybe about yourself. All right. So that's what people get when they sign up for my opt-in. As besides they get what I'm giving away, but that's the ongoing thing you do. So for me, I think that if you don't have something offered on your website that is consistent with your integrity, your expertise, people love cheat sheets, for example, like 5 ways to immediately eliminate all anxiety. Ooh, someone might like that. If especially for someone who does relationship consulting, or a shrink, psychologist, who knows? But just tools. It's a tool that they give away. And would you like to have 5 ways to reduce all your anxiety right now? Well, I don't know. Maybe. So you would put in your email for that, and then it would take you then, it immediately should take you to a different landing page that thanks you for downloading it. Here's to click and download it. Here it is for you. The other smart thing to do, strategy with this kind of for an opt-in, is that in a few days just send them something else that might be relative to the anxiety issue. Could be an offshoot of it. maybe we should get off anxiety because I usually don't run in that circle. I'm about authoring. So I'll use one of mine. I gave sometimes a thing, how to be a successful podcast guest. I did a deal. I had a whole blog I did on it, and we prettied it up, and they got that. How to write an acknowledgement page in your book. Okay, we prettied that up. So things that for people who follow me, who are following me because of authoring, book marketing, publishing, that would relate to that. I am not, although I have a cookbook now, and I may give out like a recipe from it, or maybe a new one I'm playing with. So tying in with who you are, what you're about, what your passion is the way to go on this. So I do like once a new name comes in, every couple of days they get something else from me. Just I thought you might like to see this to help you with blah 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 blah. And I will do 3 of those. So over basically a 10-day period, they've had 4 emails from me, just with no ask, not buy my book, not pay for this workshop I'm doing, just thought you could use this information. All right, so remember what I said, the purpose of your website is to develop trust, to build on your knowledge and make you valid, and do that. And so that's my method of when I go out on that. Now, what could you give them? Right? You could give them, it could even include, since I write about publishing, I mean, I've always said in my little book, The Author's Walk, I wish I had that 40 years ago when I started writing. Boy, do I wish I had that. It's not about the craft of writing. It's about keeping your mojo going, or, give it an injection of some sort when you feel like the overwhelm factor is in play. All right. So I could give them something from that. That would be a tie-in with who I am and what I'm about. And that's what's important. A lot of times getting a few chapters, unless you are, it's awesome and you're working on a new book as a fiction author, that's usually not going to be the pull-in if they're not already what I would call a super fan. And we will do a whole episode in this series in June and July on how to create and find super fans. But with that, that's a possibility. It could be a very special report on a topic that you have an expertise in that you're not out publishing to come back. It could be from another expert that's given you permission to share his or her information. It could be a cheat sheet. For those of you who are writing how-to books, and how-to is a huge category of book buying. If you're writing a how-to book, a cheat sheet. You could have a series of cheat sheets, for example, that could be something that you might do the domino every few days. Give them another cheat sheet on something, a topic that's connected with what you're doing. So it has insights and solutions to it with it. So and you could create give them as a thank you, which I've, at this point in my life, as of June 2025, I've written 48 books. I can give them the entire PDF of one of my books. That might make sense. I'm thinking as I'm saying this, I might give out this next one because I'm in the middle of making a new opt-in. I'm going to repurpose one of my old opt-ins, was one of the most successful ones I've done, and give them the entire PDF of The Author's Walk. Thank you. I've just boosted that one. All right, it may be a special tool or product you've created. Now, years ago, when I was writing, I worked for 20 years in the healthcare arena in female-dominated workplaces where it started, and it evolved into primary nursing and conflict resolution. I created a new conflict confronting that was far more effective script. And I always told my audiences, I'm embarrassed to say it took me 20 years to add 3 new lines in the old traditional. But when I came up with them, how effective that was. So effective that I turned it into a bookmark that I sold for $5 when I sold thousands of them. So is a special tool that you might want to share. Going back to the care fronting script is what I called it, and in the care fronting, it works with family members. It was so. No, I'm going to thank you all again. You've just spurred me a whole new idea. All right, so you could have a top 10 list of something you have expertise in. Years ago, I wrote a book on divorce, as I used to come from the finance area, and the dollars and cents of divorce. And I had the baker's dozen of lists, so 13 of whatever. And one of them was movies. If you're going through a divorce, if you're thinking about it or going through it, there are 13 movies to watch. Okay, you do something like that. You could have maybe a list of your own quotes, which I did. I had, these little quotes that are in this book. And if they're all spread out. Can you see? Like this? I started building them up, and all of a sudden I had 200, and I put them in a little book. That's kind of cool. And then I started writing more and more. And now this one has over 400 of some of them, they're off the wall quotes. But for, author success, for marketing ideas, for writing prompts, for things like that, I could pull things from that to do the share and do that. And you know what I'll do? Because now, so I'm thinking out loud here, is making and you do these as PDFs. These are not Word docs, by the way. That when you do that, you should also have maybe a call to action, to get the complete list of all Judith's quotes for author success, writing, book marketing, blah, 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 blah. Make sure you pick up a copy of Snappy, Sassy, Salty Success. All right, so those things that you can do. What else is on your list? You've got to have some things that you can do. So what's your next step? All right, you got to get your website ready. You need to talk to whoever your web developer is and just say, we're going to do that. If your website's a WordPress, I know they have a really smooth access tool to do it, but others have it too. And there's a location that's important that you have. It's important that you have what we call an email collector. Now, that could be MailerLite, it could be MailChimp, it could be Aweber, it could be Campaign Monitor, it could be Emma, it could be Constant Contact, it could be ConvertKit. There's a gazillion of them out there. And what they do is they gather up emails and they start making lists. Now, a lot of them have freebies for 500. If you have less 500 or less emails, they don't charge you. But once you start going over that, then you're going to see some charges coming in. It's okay. This is something you would pay for. This is called a business expense, right? So you create what your opt-in you're going to create. And then you're going to think about, you need some mini ads. So you're going to create a social media push that goes out. And now this is a campaign, grab 10 tips to reduce anxiety, free report here. And then at least to your website. I want them to send them to your website, to your home page. And so they knew that. And there's a placement on your home page where it goes. And remember, you want to know where most of your readers come from. If they're from Europe, Canada, North America, if Mexico, if anything in the Spanish, they read left to right, left to right. So they come to your, I should say it this way with the screen, left to right. Okay, so with your reading, you want to make it easy. So reading left to right, like this, that's where are they gonna land? And this is gonna be above what we call above the fold. So it's in the top section. So I like to do it in the banner section. I like to use a bright color. You can have images in them, sometimes just a block with what it is. Having that and doing it and your placement. So you want to create what your opt-in is. Think about your mini ads that you can pull them in, not too wordy, simple, and a call to action, okay, with it. Now, you're also going to create a hello page. Now, and that is where once they go into it, they're going to they put their email in. And I want them to put their email. I mean, I ask for the name, I ask for their name and email. I do not ask for a phone number. You'll kill a lot, most. Email and their name. And then they go into, it gets funneled into whatever you use for your email collector. And then it goes to, it opens up a page. And that's a welcome page, or a hello page. And it pops up immediately, and they are able to click and download the gem, and it comes in right now. So it's going to be in the upper right, download then, and then your website person can help you on this automatic download that goes out to your list to new people, and then go out to the new people, of other goodies that you will have offer. So, and that's called a drip, or you'll hear funnel is another word that you will hear. That's how you can start funneling additional things. But the key thing, it's not going to do you any good unless you promote it. So that's that campaign comes in. And when you promote it, I will write up for that kind of campaign, I'd probably write 20 pushes to go out, always linking to my website. Always, it'll be there, the left to right. Trust that it does happen. And that, and just different variations on what you have. But it wants to, whatever your colors are on your website, make sure that you use a opposite color so it has a pop and they can see it. So it shows up. I think mine has it's orange on the current one, as we go along. So that's some of the components of what you would do to start doing this all together. So it's in kind of a summary, your opt-in page is a simple web page that contains your opt-in form. So and you could actually do a standalone landing page, and not bring them to your website. But I think that's a mistake. Doesn't your website have a lot of cool stuff on it? A lot of good information? Wouldn't you love to have them explored a little bit? So it may be they go, they get pulled to your website because of your campaign push you've put out there, but they decide to kind of check out your blog or other things. So it may make sense to have a pop-up, what they call a pop-up, several on certain pages to say, if you haven't grabbed my free blah 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 blah, um, click here on that, and that would be a double, doubles, maybe triples even as you go along. And so, so this is not a complicated thing for you to create. That's what I'm trying to get across. It's ideal. It pains me so few don't have it, especially, my clients are authors, and trying to get them do it. So when you start doing it, you want to think about, okay, so how do we, what do you have? You need a headline. You need a headline. And underneath your grab headline. So for emotional pull, maybe you want to tap into one of my favorite tools, AM Institute, Apple Mary, AM Institute.com, and put your headline in there and see if there is an emotional pull, what it will pull, and the words. I don't want a 20-word headline, people. Let's keep it short, but it needs to have it and register. If it scores over 30, that starts saying, okay, that'll work. If you can play around with an adjective or a verb and get a little higher, that works better. So but it's the headline, and it could be, you know, you could use words like, it could be, grab is always good. Ace, ace. I have a client who wrote a book called, The Medical School Interview. Ace your medical school interview, right? That's it. And then we could add in 10 minutes or something like that. So you could play around a little bit there in that. Sometimes it makes sense to have a little bit more description, because people like short, punchy lines in there. And it could be, I think some of the best commercials I see out there now are for the dog and cat food stuff. They're short, they're punchy, they're quirky. People like quirky, by the way. I like quirky. And so you have that, but this is where your lead magnet comes in. And then it's that, call to action is grab it now, get it now. Um, or you could even say on your opt-in, you could do a special. You're going to say, I'm only going to give out 100. Grab yours now. Now you could give out 12,000, but maybe if you just say only 100 available, that might punch it up a little bit, in that, and put it together. So what I want to do is I'm going to go over to my website and sharing it and go show you a couple things. And I'm going to, and also talk to you about, um, I need to come back and find myself here. Talk to you about, what some that have been more effective. I had one opt-in. I thought, this is the cat's meow. I wish somebody would have had this. And actually, the one I'm going to do the repurpose, what I gave away would go back in it. So with that said, we're going to go into, a couple of them here. And this is where I keep, this is, documents, JB Marketing, opt-in. Right. So the one that I thought would been just, and did maybe we got 1,000 emails. But that was over the lifetime around it. But these are the components, that we had. And when we did, and when I'm talking about the push in, here was the push in, so these are some of the images we use, but these would have been tweets. Back then we called them tweets. Um, and this would, hot tips and strategies for authors on how to prep for radio, TV, podcast interviews. Grab, it's a cheat sheet. Get the free ultimate interview cheat sheets. This did quite well, actually. But you can just see it's hot tips and call to action. You got to get is the call to action. And then it went to my website. And then these were the hashtags that were appropriate for it. All right. So, and I make a bunch. Now, so in the old days, we had to separate all of them, but we had several here. I would shoot for 20 to try to have, on that, and then push out. This was for the SOS. I had what I call the SOS. This was the ultimate thing. And I thought it was so important that how many times has someone who's done your website disappeared or just gone out of business or lost their luster? I mean, who knows? Maybe you want to get a divorce. Who knows, what in that process? So with that said, these were some of the pushes then. Again, what happens when your webmaster disappears? Chaos and confusion is what happens. Get my free SOS website due diligence plan to protect you. Right. And then the website, and here's we on. So these were my pushes for this particular plan, that went out. And it was one of the most effective. Let me get rid of, I see stuffers showing up, shouldn't be showing up. One of the most effective ones I had. Now, then we had, let me just take a peek at some of these things. I should see what I'm showing here. All right, so this is what it looked like. 13 essential tips, SOS. All right, so I just, here's my lead in, a little bit more narrative. So that was my headline. Lead in, create an image. right? And then these are the 13 steps. There's 13 questions to ask. And I'll ask you, do you know who owns your website? Is the copyright in your name? Do you have it copyrighted? Do you know the name and the number of the website host or service and any help numbers? Do you know who your webmaster is? Do you know who else has login to you? Do you know where your domain's registered? Does your domain have a theme? What about license keys? A lot of times when websites are developed, license keys are pulled in. They're bought on your behalf. Who bought them? Are they in your name? Do you know what the numbers are for it? Do you have an SSL certificate? Every website needs that. Do you have a shopping cart or PayPal or something that people can buy stuff? Where is your stuff backed up? You have subscribers. Who's collecting them? What's the link? Etc. So these were all key questions, and I sent these questions to my webmaster for all my different websites. I have several to come back and make sure that I got it back, right? So, oops, I'm seeing a variety of different things here. All right, so those are that was for this one, on the things. And then I have an Excel sheet of, how many new names came in when we did it. In that. So that would be a particular one. And then the current one we have up right now deals with Ultimate. But one of my most effective one, which I'm going to bring back again, this was on how to get your LCC in, and that's changed. I'm going to redo it. We called it the alphabet soup one. And I'm going to I need to go very quickly to, yes, I need to get to my own website. All right, so this is my personal website. All right, and coming down, and we've got lots of tabs, but this is my opt-in. So it's in the above the fold, above there, and sometimes we change this color, but grab. So the social media push outs that I would be doing would be grab. It said, do you have an ultimate? Question could be, do you have a book marketing plan, success plan for you and your book? Grab my free ultimate book marketing success plan today. All right, so here's the headline. Here's it. So if you went in, grab here, and this is what pops up. So a headline again, little sub headline. When should you start marketing your book? The day you start writing it. If not, you start today. Right? Name, full name, and email. And then they would submit it. So if I put this in, I'll just put in JB here. And I'll put in here my email. And then I would submit it. All right, they get a thank you for signing up, and immediately in their email, they will get it and go to. So those are the things that you want to be looking for as you go on. So mine has changed. The one that I am going to be redoing we called it the author uh, the author success. No, it was publishing success alphabet soup or something like that. And success, 1,800 people signed up for that in 1 week. 1,800 new names with our push out that we did and where we go. Now, what were, and it was they got a PDF. It was a 32-page PDF. And eventually people said, well, why are you giving it to it all at once? Why don't you just spread that out? We did that, and it was okay. It was much more effective when I just gave the whole thing away. So what was in it? How to get your LCCN was one. How to get your ISBN was one. How to write an acknowledgement page for your book was one. How to nail down your categories on Amazon was one. And there was 8 of them in all. I am going to revisit that as I go forward and bring it back because number one, it was successful. And how to get your LCCN has changed. The best way to get your ISBNs, that has changed since I initially did it. Um, I would add in how to write an author's note instead, or maybe why you shouldn't be writing an introduction in your book because no one reads them. Very few people read them. But if you write an author's note and what it is, it's more successful than bringing them in. So I would be doing that. I would add on how to do the ask with buyers of your book in a bookstore. And we've created these really cool slips we put into every book. It has the cover on it. It thanks them for getting the book, and there is a reveal that authors need reviews, and I would be honored to have yours. And then for fiction, because I write fiction and nonfiction, so for fiction, we'd ask, did you have a favorite character? What did you like about it? We give them a couple. You need to help people with prompts. 'Cause sometimes when you ask them to fill in or write a review, they go deer in the headlights. And they say they'll do it, and they don't. And by the way, don't uh, uh, you may have to ask 8 times. So, how to do an effective ask and how you follow up. Ah, how do you collect names? I've developed a one sheet. I go in with a clipboard. I have them bright colored. When I do bookstores, I'm in Barnes and Noble a lot, and I go in bookstores and I have some pretty standard books from all my publishing, the current publishing ones, the Author's Walk, how to create the crowdfunding book, the Snappy Sassy quote book is one of them. How to write $1 million speech is one of them. I have my fiction series, my little cookbook, and what I do is I miniaturized all, got it down squishy, and then I made a panel. I just then took a snag shot, screenshot, put them all together, and I run it across the very tippy top. And I do that for 2 purposes. One is to, when I'm in a bookstore, the bookstore has books there. I count all the ones that they've got so I know. If I sell out, and often I do sell out, and they say, do you have some other books? And you should always have books. Case of your books in the back of your car, wherever you go. Or if you have several like me, I may carry, I know one book, like when I'm selling my historical fiction book, I never sell less than 20 books in a bookstore. So, and I can go up to 40 sometimes. So I have extras in the car I can bring in. And I just have a plus. So I do it above each book cover that's laid out. Right now, as things start selling, I do the stick figure, the ding, 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 right? Remember that? So 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I would do that underneath it so I can see what's going on in the store. Below that imagery and that is that I have name, email in the center, and mobile on that. At least half the people give me their mobile phone number. Right now, I have them sign, and they sign it. And do yourself a favor because I've made mistakes here that some people you can't read their writing. You can guess, but I'm telling you, guessing at emails that are scribbly. I mean, I can, Gmail and all those, you can figure those out, but it's in front of the outside. So just read it back to them, right? So I sign their books. Another tip, I always pre-sign all my books. When I sit in a bookstore, even if I didn't bring them in, I will sit and pre-sign. I have each of my books has a special signing that I add to it. My memoir book, When God Says No, it's always from my heart to yours. For my cooking book, I have another one, but I use different colored pens. And actually I sign in purple because that's my color. And I just have a slew of the same pen. So when I pre-sign, then I can just easily add the name, and instead of having my head down and there's just going to see hair, top of your head, that you can have eye contact with them because it's very easy to write George, or Susan or whatever, because you've already done all the rest of it. So make it easy for yourself, please. So that's just smart to do. Then what you want to do is move it along, and that I just, as soon as when they go away, I looked at that and I just use initials. So if they bought, the Secret Journey, I just put SJ by the name. If it's Secret Hamlet, SH. If it's a cooking book, C. If it's my memoir, When God Says No, I will just, I will put WG. I mean, just make it easy for yourself is what I'm saying. Make it really easy with that process. So that way, when you're in a bookstore or any event, then you're going to come back because, I also put at the top of this sheet, this is required. At the sheet, I put, you will be added to my preferred emailing list. By them signing it, they have opted in to do that, to receive emails from you. And then when I come back, quiet time in my office, I will then type and enter, and I keep track of every bookstore I've been in or an event. So, and it's in a Word doc, and I just type the name, the email. If there's a phone number, it's added, and the coding for whatever books, and I send it to my virtual assistant, who then enters it into our system. I don't do any of that. I have someone do that for me. But those are the things, and they're going along with why you want to build up that opt-in. Because now, with what we would do, for example, this coming weekend, I will be in a Barnes and Noble store all day on a Saturday. I just say, come and see my latest books, or drop in and let's catch up with what you're doing, and anything like that. Just say, come see me. I'm there. And a lot of times people show up, so that's kind of cool. So the power of having an email list is beyond anything you can imagine. Remember, I said this in the beginning, sites can go away, or they can clearly change what their intent was in the old days. Now I have 3 accounts on Twitter, and that their combined following is around 70,000. I still post out there. We still get, a lot of traction and following. When I'm doing a bestseller campaign, supporting my clients in their bestseller Amazon campaigns, Twitter is one that I absolutely use. LinkedIn, I'm sitting with like 17,000 contacts. So I'll write up like an article, so that will go out to everyone. If I'm going to be in a bookstore, come see me, say hello. If you're in Colorado, now I'm Colorado, so I would always use hashtag Colorado. And so if you're in Alabama, hashtag Alabama, or in your city, if they have one, make sure you do things where they'll land so other people can see them, and know that. But you can't effectively, that would be on the outside. But if you have their emails, those personal emails, it makes such a humongous difference. And the opt-in or lead magnet, whatever you want to call it, makes that happen. So think about, could you do a cheat sheet around the theme of your book on your SPs? Because it's my fiction people who do the pushback. What can I give them? What could I do? Well, or you could even create a contest. You could say, hey, enter the contest. I'm writing my next novel, and I'm going to give away 3 of the characters I am going to name after my fans, and fans and followers. All right. So people, sign up for that stuff. Let me tell you on that. And then we have it. So with that, that's the way to bring it around and move forward so you can see what's happening and where it's going to go next, because I never know. But I do know that emails are your gold mine, and that it doesn't matter what platform, new platform shows up, what new platform becomes an oldie, and people are diverting and going to it. I know a lot of people in 2025, actually 2024, it started happening, were leaving Twitter and going into, okay, what are our other options that we could take advantage of? And Blue Sky was one of them where a lot went. Now, the other thing is what you should know just before we close off is that if your book is newsworthy, if your expertise is newsworthy, then you need to, I would definitely be on Blue Sky and I would definitely be on Twitter. Why? Because that you can do so much more with that, and you can take it and you can run with it in so many ways and get there and have it that it would be so successful for you. So let's just recap. What do you need to create the opt-in? You need a web. Do you need a website? No. Should you have one? Yeah. Right. If you didn't have one, what would you create? You would create a landing page, a one-page kind of thing that would do. And that with a landing page, you could create a variety of things to pull it together for the folks that you want to have on doing that. So landing page would be very simple. Your headline, short narrative, and people would get there and you'd have a button to submit to. You still need an email collector. You still need to have, again, I mentioned a few of them, from MailChimp to MailerLite to Monitor, Emma, Constant Comment, CoverKit. There's a bunch. And you can go to Google and look up, best email collectors for authors. I would try that and see what comes along there. Right. Then you want to think about, okay, what am I going to do? Now, fiction, they dig their heels in. You can give them, if you've written a lot of books, you could give them the PDF of an older book. Just, or maybe you'll have a special collection of that. I know that, and I have a website called Judith Briles Books. I'd love to have you all go onto it. Judith Briles Books. So if you go on to Judith Briles Books, I have a full-blown cookbook, but I'm going to go ahead and show that to you just real quick, because that has another opt-in. All right, so this is where all my books live. All right, and I have a special club where I give stuff away and freebie all of that. But this is where my stuff lives. And this is announcing a new fiction series that I'm going to create for women's friendship type thing. All right, now this is join my circle. All right, this is the opt-in. I'm looking at this. I'm going to change that. All right, and this is what they do. They get that, and you come along with it. And you get a free copy of my recipe. So I'm going to go in on this and just say, I'm going to say JB. Oh, yeah, I'll just say Judith then. Okay. I'll just say Judith. It may not let me because I'm the owner of it. And then I put in my, okay, submit. Oh, okay, so this says just click here to download. All right, so if I click here to download, aha, and I'm giving them a whole bunch. This is, before I really wrote the cookbook, but I'm sharing different recipes. with them. So that's what we have there. All right. So that's what these people get on that. Now, while I'm looking at this, what I'm going to do that was joining my circle, what I think I'm going to do is I will go back. I'm going to modify that. And I'm going to do a modification where it joins circle. Join a circle, I will add a subtitle here and get free recipes. Something like that. I'll add on that. All right. So that's you have options, which is kind of cool, that you can go through and take advantage of, in that. So I'm going to repurpose. I'm going to do an opt-in repurpose on an old one that I created, this alphabet soup for authors and publishing success. I'm going to keep some of them in, but I'm now going to add new elements in that are better. Like, how do you get people? How do you get book reviews? I'm going to give you some hot tips to do it. How do you collect names on that? I will give you something on that. How to, it's always how to. This kind of stuff is how to. But for you, for any of you who are going through what you're doing, is you got to create the opt-in. So what can you do? An old book PDF, my gift, thank you to you. I give recipes for one of my websites, that and think about it, so cheat sheets, few chapters of a book or maybe an old book, a very special report that you've tied in and you've put together, which would be kind of cool. It could be some, maybe a list of tools. I have done workshops on my favorite tools, my favorite author tools, my favorite publishing tools, and I will go through each one of them and do them. For example, I did something I did a blog last month on one of my favorite tools. It's called Word Hippo. I love Word Hippo. If you don't know about Word Hippo, discover wordhippo.com. It's a freebie. It's like a, um, a very cool thesaurus, quirky, in fact, a quirky thesaurus. And it has different verb and noun, and all you do is put in a word, because a lot of times, people, especially coming from nonfiction, it's drier sometimes, and you'd want to use different words, different adjectives to spice it up for the reader's eyes and their minds. Word Hippo is a great tool. So I'll go through, a whole series of my favorite tools. And I've done, podcasts over the years, what just favorite tools, where we will bang through 25 different tools in an hour, and why you should use them and go about them. But whatever it is, come up with a list that people will think, oh, I want them. Oh, she or he has what I want. That will make my writing better, my publishing. For me, it's writing, publishing, authoring. For you, it's going to be whatever your expertise is, whatever genres slope you're going down, that will tie in to make it work, on that. And, I mentioned during this podcast the word superfan. You know, how do you find the superfans? Cool, I can give you tips on how to do that, and do that. So I'm going to put together a new alphabet soup success for authors and writers, and we will sub it out from the marketing plan because there's a lot of marketing. I get it, a lot of marketing. It's just about run its course. It will then move to my web. What do you do with old opt-ins? Which is a good question. I move them to my resources on the Book Shepherd site that people then can go to it. And then one of them that I definitely will bring back and revamp will be the website SOS, because it's so important. And I'll bet those of you who are watching, listening, viewing right now, I bet you couldn't answer all 13 of those questions that I put up dealing with your website SOS. I bet. All right, with that, we're going to do a wrap. I'll be with you next week. We're going through more how-to successes and we'll be covering a variety of different topics to bring your summer alive as you move forward in this last half of the year. Gulp. I can't believe I'm saying that. Take care.